When Brenda torched my cornfield, she walked straight into the trap I'd been setting for 6 weeks. The smell of burning corn filled the night air. 3 acres of it. My 2 daughters' college tuition money turning to ash. Brenda Hartwell stood by the fence line with that smug smile, still clutching the gas, like she'd just finished her masterpiece. Farming is so outdated, she giggled into her phone, live streaming to her Facebook friends. This neighborhood deserves something better. Then the siren started wailing, getting closer, louder. Brenda's smile vanished when she realized those fire trucks weren't heading somewhere else. What the psycho didn't know was that I'd been expecting her to pull exactly this stunt. What would you do if your HOA neighbor burned down your kid's future for Facebook likes? Tell me where you're watching from. Let me back up and tell you how this whole nightmare started. My name is Charlie Fieldstone, and I'm a third-generation corn farmer on 8 acres in rural Ohio. My grandfather bought this land back in 1953 for $300 and a handshake. Back then, it was nothing but cornfields as far as you could see. Fast forward 70 years, and I'm surrounded by McMansions with names like Whispering Oaks Estates. The irony, not a single oak tree left, and the only heritage around here is my family's farm that these people treat like dog crap on their designer shoes. My wife Denise teaches 3rd grade. Twin daughters, Sarah and Emma, both 18 and college-bound. Sarah wants to be a vet. Emma's going for engineering. College costs $30,000 each. You know what pays for that? My corn harvest. Every damn kernel. The sweet smell of corn tassels in late summer used to be my favorite thing. Now it just reminds me of everything I almost lost to one psychotic real estate agent. Enter Brenda Hartwell, 48, HOA president and part-time house flipper. She moved into the biggest McMansion 3 years ago. Vinyl siding, fake shutters, garage bigger than my barn. Her backyard butts right against my property line, separated by my grandfather's weathered oak fence. Last spring, she shows up at my door with a clipboard and that dead-eyed realtor smile. Untouchable. We've had complaints about your farm equipment being visible from the street. I looked at my 1960 John Deere, sitting exactly where it belonged. Lady, that tractor's been there longer than your whole subdivision. The smile turned predatory. Several residents say it's killing property values. My clients are concerned about the rural aesthetic. Here's the kicker. My farm predates their HOA by 40 years. I'm not even in their jurisdiction. But try explaining that to someone whose biggest crisis is mismatched mailboxes. This is a working farm, I said. The equipment stays. Mr. Fieldstone, her voice went ice cold. Being a good neighbor means considering how your choices affect others. I'd hate for this to become unpleasant. That's when my rooster Hannibal decided to crow, right on cue. The sound of gravel crunching under her heels as she stormed off should have been my first warning. But the real gut punch came 2 days later. I'm out checking irrigation lines when I hear voices by the fence. Brenda's there with some slick guy in a $1,000 suit, pointing at my cornfield like she's already planning the street names. 8 acres, perfect for luxury townhomes, she's saying. The farming situation is temporary. The suit nods, taking notes. Timeline for vacant possession. 6 months max. These old farmers always cave when you apply the right pressure. My blood turned to ice water. This wasn't about property values or community standards. This was about commission checks and development deals. She was already selling my land that wasn't even for sale. I ducked behind my grandfather's old tool shed, heart pounding like I was back in Afghanistan. The rough bark of that century-old oak tree felt solid under my palm, but everything else suddenly felt fragile. That night, I called Jake Thornfield, agricultural lawyer and old Army buddy. Jake, hypothetically, what happens if someone tries to harass a farmer off his land for development? Nothing hypothetical about it. Marcus, it happens all the time. Document everything. And Marcus, watch your 6. As I hung up, Denise came out with 2 beers. Everything okay? I looked across my land, corn stalks rustling in the evening breeze, the same sound my grandfather heard every summer. Honey, I think we're about to find out just how far people will go for money. The next morning, I found my irrigation hose slashed in 3 places. Game on, Brenda. 3 slashed hoses might not sound like much, But when you're feeding 30,000 corn plants during the hottest week of July, it's basically economic warfare. I spent the morning splicing rubber in 100-degree heat, the metallic taste of anger coating my tongue. I didn't have to wait long for round two. Tuesday afternoon, a White County truck rumbles up my gravel drive. Fire Marshal Dave Peterson steps out, looking apologetic as hell, clipboard in hand. "Marcus, sorry to bother you, but I got a complaint about illegal agricultural burning on your property." "Illegal burning?" "Dave, I haven't burned anything since spring cleanup, and that was with proper permits." He shrugged. "Someone filed a formal complaint. Says you've been conducting unauthorized brush burning during drought conditions. Even provided photos." My stomach dropped. Inside the folder were pictures of smoke rising from what looked like my back 40, except that smoke was from Tom Henderson's control burn 3 miles away, shot from an angle that made it look like my property. "This is complete BS, Dave. That's not even my land in the background." "I know, Marcus, but rules are rules. I gotta investigate every complaint." 20 minutes later, Dave confirmed what we both knew. My fire safety protocols were military-grade perfect. He even complimented grandfather's old stone fire ring. Back in my Army days, I'd learned that when someone builds a paper trail against you, they're planning something bigger. Real estate agents can lose their licenses for fraudulent claims about zoning changes. Brenda was walking a tightrope, and she didn't even know it. "Whoever filed this either doesn't know farming or they're setting you up for something," Dave said, climbing back in his truck. "Watch your six, Marcus." That evening, I installed my first security camera, a trail cam pointed at the equipment shed. The soft click of the mounting bracket reminded me of setting up perimeter security overseas. Different enemy, same tactics. Wednesday morning brought the diesel message. The acrid smell hit me before I saw the puddle around my fuel tank. Someone had dumped about a gallon of it in the sandy soil. Not enough to damage anything, just enough to let me know they could get close whenever they wanted. I started researching Brenda's business practices that afternoon. The county assessor's website revealed what I suspected. She'd been promising buyers that agricultural zoning changes were anticipated, except no such changes were even being discussed. In Ohio, that kind of misrepresentation can cost you your real estate license permanently. Thursday brought the game changer I should have seen coming. I'm replacing fence boards when Harold Grayson shuffles over, glancing around like he's about to confess to murder. Harold, 75, retired postal worker, lived here since before Brenda's McMansion invasion. "Marcus, we need to talk." His voice barely carried over the evening breeze, rustling through corn leaves. "That Hartwell woman came by yesterday, asking about your schedule, when you'd be away from the property. When I didn't bite, she offered me $500 cash for information about your safety violations." "Safety violations I don't have." That's when Harold became my inside man. Turned out Brenda had visited half the neighborhood with similar offers. Most told her to take a hike, but some seemed interested in easy cash. By Friday, I had a war chest of evidence. Photos of the diesel vandalism, documentation of the false fire report, screenshots of Brenda's fraudulent property listings, and witness statements about attempted bribery. But my real counterpunch came from those misleading real estate listings still active on her website. I called the Ohio Division of Real Estate armed with screenshots of every promise she couldn't deliver. The investigators' interest was immediate and intense. Apparently, Brenda wasn't the first agent they'd tracked for this scam. That weekend, I installed more cameras and researched agricultural protection laws. Harold stopped by Sunday with coffee and reconnaissance. "Brenda's having some kind of war council tonight." 4 cars showed up around 7. Through my kitchen window, I watched shadows moving behind her curtains. "Let the games begin, Brenda. Your move." Monday morning brought Brenda's next chess move, and it was uglier than I expected. She'd formed the Neighborhood Safety Committee, basically a gang of bored suburbanites with clipboards and grudges against anything that didn't come from Home Depot. First up was Janet Kowalski rolling up in a spotless white Lexus, parking right at my property line and photographing my barn like she was documenting war crimes. "Morning, Janet," I called out, walking over with my coffee. "Something I can help you with." She jumped. "Oh, Marcus, I'm just documenting some safety concerns." "About what exactly?" "Well, the proximity of your fuel storage to residential property and the vermin attraction from your composting practices. I wanted to laugh, but the implications weren't funny. My fuel tank sat farther from her house than her own barbecue grill. My compost pile met every regulation in the book. Over the next week, committee members took shifts harassing me. Dust concerns, rooster complaints, demand for expensive privacy fencing. Saturday morning, as I repaired actual fence damage, Harold shuffled over with intelligence that would change everything. "Marcus, we need to talk. Found out something about your committee friends." He pulled out a folded newspaper clipping. "Martin Cruz is facing an insurance fraud lawsuit. Susan Walsh lost her real estate license for forging inspection documents. Brenda was recruiting criminals. She's offering them $50 per documented violation. She's buying false testimony." That afternoon, I dove into public records. Martin had 3 suspicious insurance claims in 2 years. Susan's revocation mentioned a pattern of falsification. Brenda had assembled a crew of desperate people with flexible ethics. But she'd made one critical error. She'd underestimated Harold. To Harold, my farm wasn't just agriculture. It was the last piece of something authentic in a world of vinyl siding. Wednesday evening, Harold knocked on my back door. She hired a private investigator, a guy named Rick Pohl's son. They're planning to manufacture evidence. Dead fish planted by your creek, fake chemical spills, recorded noise violations. The room started spinning. Brenda was under pressure from her developer contacts. She promised them a timeline she couldn't meet. That night, I installed military-grade surveillance, infrared cameras, motion sensors, dummy units. The soft electronic hum became my lullaby. I called Jake. "What's the penalty for conspiracy to file false government reports?" "Organized fraud, Marcus. Federal crime if it crosses certain thresholds." The next morning, fresh tire tracks scarred my cornfield, 20 plants destroyed. Brenda's war was escalating. Time to fight back. During peak irrigation season, Harold's panicked voice cut through the morning air. "Marcus, county truck just pulled into Brenda's driveway." 20 minutes later, Water Inspector Carol Rise knocked with a cease and desist order for excessive water usage. The chart showed consumption 3 times normal levels. Pure fantasy. "This feels orchestrated," Carol whispered. "Get your own usage test done fast." As her truck disappeared, I noticed a 20-foot strip of corn along the eastern line turned chemically burned brown overnight. The sickly sweet smell of herbicide hung in the air. My trail camera had caught it. Brenda at 2:47 a.m., creeping with a spray bottle, her face clear, license plate visible. 3 hours later, Tractor Supply footage showed her buying Roundup concentrate. I had her cold on agricultural vandalism, trespassing, crop destruction, a felony in Ohio carrying up to 5 years. Harold whispered later, "She's in deep trouble. Borrowed against that expected commission. If the deal collapses, bankruptcy." Public records showed her deal with Midwest Corporation promised $168,000 commission for delivering my 8 acres vacant. She'd spent money she didn't have. I hired an independent hydrologist. My consumption was 40% below averages. The county data was fiction. I researched agricultural protection laws. Farmers have special protections against harassment campaigns to force sales. The Agricultural Land Protection Act designed to stop exactly this. Brenda had declared war on someone who understood agriculture and military strategy. The bombshell came when Harold appeared shaken. "She's got a development deal, $2. $8 million for your 8 acres. 32 luxury townhomes." He played a recording, Brenda guaranteeing vacant possession, implying farm accidents happen. She'd borrowed against it. Second mortgage, new Mercedes, daughter's wedding. I filed a conservation easement at the courthouse. My 8 acres were now permanently protected from development forever. Brenda's deal became worthless paper. I kept it secret, let her keep escalating, committing crimes, building evidence. We formed a war council in my kitchen. Denise, now legal researcher, Harold, Deputy Rodriguez, Jake. Denise found precedents for $500,000 judgments. "Jake, this is beautiful. Criminal conspiracy, real estate fraud, RICO violations." We hit from all angles: criminal complaints, civil suit, regulatory filings. Brenda's desperation peaked. Sugar in my fuel tank, nicked hydraulic lines, loosened lug nuts, attempted pump theft, all caught on camera. When she and Polson tried stealing the irrigation pump at 2 a.m. I recorded their conversation, called Rodriguez. Sirens sent them fleeing, but evidence sealed felony theft charges. With 18 days until her October 1st deadline, Harold reported, she's planning an accidental fire to force sale. During next week's training exercise, I prepped fire suppression gear, coordinated with Fire Chief Danny Morrison, Army vet, installed thermal cameras linked to dispatch. Thursday evening, thermal cameras detected them pouring accelerant. At 11:52 p.m., Brenda lit it. Flames raced. My system alerted everyone. Fire trucks rolled in 90 seconds. Brenda panicked as Chief Morrison stepped out. "Ma'am, step away. You're under arrest." The irony. It happened during the city council meeting. Her alibi. Radio crackled. Arson in progress. Brenda's satisfied smile turned to terror. I stood. "Mr. Mayor, I have evidence of a 3-month conspiracy." Played recordings revealed the easement. Harold testified. Rodriguez arrested her in front of everyone for arson, fraud, conspiracy. 6 months later, Brenda pleaded guilty. 2 years prison, $50,000 restitution. Polson got 18 months. Developer paid $75,000. Insurance and settlements funded college debt-free. Denise became a paralegal helping farm families. Harold teaches fraud recognition. Our case sparked the Fieldstone Agricultural Protection Act, scholarships, heritage festivals. This wasn't just about Brenda. It was ordinary people refusing to let greed destroy something beautiful. Walking my fields now, watching my daughters plant, the corn rustling like it always has, I know some things are worth fighting for. Family land, honest work, the right to live without fear. Share your own HOA nightmare in the comments. Subscribe for more tales of ordinary people beating corrupt systems. Because when good people stand together, even the greediest predators learn respect for community. Next week, a retired teacher shuts down a luxury resort with a 200-year-old deed. See you then.